Hello guys, my name is Solarts. Welcome back to another video, and I wish to discuss, is RWBY worth watching? Now I understand a lot of people probably feel strongly about RWBY. I know I get a lot of comments talking about I hate RWBY and it's the worst series ever, and I know I also get a lot of people that say RWBY's amazing, I love the show, things of that nature. I'm not really going to be coming in with any of those mindsets. I'm going to try to be neutral and state what I like, what I dislike, while also just talking about the fans, the community, what the series provides, and things of that nature. With that being said, I would like to get into what to expect from RWBY. Now, to avoid keeping this video from being about 50 minutes long and things of that nature, I'm just gonna try to breeze through this. But when you first start off RWBY, you're going to have to expect some good choreography. A lot of the fights may not be the most visually stunning because of the models or things of that nature, but the choreography, the elements, you can understand these characters, their personality, their fight styles, things of that nature. It's all ingrained and shown within their choreography. It all just is blended very beautifully together, and that makes for just really lovable characters outside fighting and inside fighting, because so much personality is encaptured into both of those elements. RWBY has some insanely lovable characters, and I think most people who do watch the series, even if your opinions start to fall off and or grow later on, I think that most people when they first start the show believe that, yeah, these have some really lovable characters because they're easy to love. I mean, it feels lighthearted, it feels fun, but it also feels like it could take itself seriously when it needs to. The execution may not be the best at some parts, the writing may not be the best at some parts, but you can tell that they have some passion, they have some love, and you can tell what they're at least attempting to shoot for, and this makes for very lovable characters. With the good choreography, it could push it, and also RWBY has some amazing, and I mean amazing designs. Sometimes they're not the greatest. I'm not going to sit here and say that every design is perfect or things of that nature, but RWBY does have some good designs, and it also follows a good rule called the color naming rule, and it's practically just each character in RWBY has to be named after a color, and those things go down to team, weapon, you know, what you wear, and things of that nature. I think it's a very simple rule, but it's a rule that is ingrained into the world of RWBY, and it's a thing that needs to happen in the series. It's literally stated by the creator. I understand that some people find this rule to be very limiting, but in my personal opinion, I find the rule to be very amazing, and it just adds so much more to the series, especially in those older volumes. I mean, when you think of those older volumes and even the trailers, the thing that makes those characters pop out and stick out and so cool to see is because of the background and the colors those characters wore. RWBY's red pops out, Weiss's white pops out, Blake's black pops out, Yang's yellow pops out. And these fight scenes in these trailers, they're highlighted a lot, and even when it goes down to in the series, these things are highlighted. Now, they're not highlighted as great as they are in the trailers, but they are still highlighted and shown, and I think that makes for something much more interesting. It's more pleasing to the eye, and especially if you want to even go down to the scientific nature of it, colors just help us perceive things, whether it be emotions, tones, moods, expressions, whatever. You can get a good idea of a character just from their appearance, just from the colors they wear, just from the vibe they give off, and expressions and poses, and I think RWBY does that really well. And when it comes to all of that, I mentioned the choreography, I mentioned the lovable characters, I mentioned the designs, the color naming rule, the passion that this series has because it was made by people who didn't have much. I mean, it's joked around about by the community, but RWBY was made off of practically pins and needles. It had the Yusuke Kitagawa budget, practically nothing, you know. You're not living off of much, and it's cool, and I understand that, and that's where the passion comes in with RWBY, is that many people who watch this series, they love to see the progression, they love to see how these characters evolve, how the studio evolves, and how these things take charge. RWBY felt like a passion project, probably maybe a small abridged series that wasn't meant to be taken serious, probably just a side series that maybe wouldn't get anywhere, and then you make it around, you know, halfway into the first volume, and you think, wait, this has something special. This isn't just a group of friends joking around with a nothingness story. This actually has some elements here. This has some plot, and volume 2 picks that up, volume 3 picks that up, and the show continues, and you like to see that passion evolve. You like to see how far a small group of people who worked on the series and started it off continues to grow and expand in what they do. Now, I understand that some people don't like what happens behind the scenes and things of that nature, but I'm just trying to speak on it from a good standpoint currently and not looking too deep into the background of people and situations and things of that nature. I'm just trying to speak about that. But with that being said, I think it's also something to talk about, which is the community. And I'll label this as the good side of the community. RWBY has a pretty fun community, and it's something to expect from the community, at least when you're interacting with the art, when you're interacting with the music, the voice actors, the cosplayers. People of these natures are very entertaining. It's cool to read some stories. It's cool to indulge in fanfic. It's cool to listen to some music. And I think these people are really amazing. And, you know, the RWBY community even has some people who develop games and even go on to work for the series and with the series. You know, I think these people are really beautiful when it comes to it. And if you're joining the community just for those simple things, I think that's amazing. I think it's some of the best things ever. And I think when RWBY only focuses on that creative aspect and that unity aspect, it has one of the greatest communities ever. But on the flip side of that coin, not everybody just focuses on the loving part of the community. There's a lot of bad in the RWBY community, and it's terrible. It's utterly disgraceful, and it gets to a point where it's just horrid. Like it's absolutely atrocious, and it's why I can't sit here and call RWBY one of the greatest communities ever. I would like to if you only stare directly, and I mean directly, at the good, but if you actually pull back and look at the whole picture, the RWBY community is very, very terrible. And I'll show some screenshots on screen of the things I personally had to go through from the videos I make. And like I said, all I do is just make RWBY content. I don't do much else. I'm not forcing people. I'm not hating people. I'm not promoting violence or anything of that nature. I just make RWBY videos. And you know, I understand that every community has some bad. I understand that every community has some good. That is 100% true, but RWBY's community and how RWBY handles that bad is extremely, extremely terrible. And I just want to at least get a little bit into it. Like, for instance, I mentioned the good side of the community, but the neutral side of the community. If you're neutral 9 times out of 10 in the RWBY community, you're just going to be somebody who sees a lot of opinions. That's it. It's not going to be much. It's going to be people minding their business because it's neutral at the end of the day. You'll get some people respecting your opinions, and you'll probably be respecting their opinions as well. It won't be much bickering, much arguing. It's probably just going to be pretty peaceful. But you go a little lower, and then you have the bad side of the community. These people are people who just promote drama, constantly hateful. They are only there to practically spread negativity. Now, there's a lot of people and accounts who do this who also do good for the RWBY community. They have a following, people love them, people are excited to see them, but at the same time, they also do and promote bad things and continue to be in bad stuff. Or they may see a bad situation and probably bring up the intensity because of their follower count or things of that nature. And this is very, very terrible. And this is just the bad side of the community. When you want to talk about the toxic side of the community, I've experienced it pretty badly over the recent months, and I just wish to at least show some screenshots here and there. Everything's going to be censored, so there you go. But here's some of the stuff I had to go with, and it's pretty despicable, because the toxic side of this community are people that sit here and send death threats. They try to hurt your livelihood in some sort of way, whether it be you losing your job, whether you be getting kicked out of your house, whether it be trying to reach your family, whether it be threatening your family, you know what I'm saying, trying to hurt your friends or things of that nature, trying to hurt you, trying to encourage you to kill yourself. These people try to stop your opportunities. These people try to blacklist you, you know, from the community, or kick you out or exile you. And they do this to not just probably you, but a bunch of other people. And these are some of the things I had to go through. And I've been a person that has experienced every side of the RWBY community, from the lovingness to the good to the neutral to the bad. I've experienced it all, and that's kind of just what I want to highlight. So with all of this addressed, should you really interact with the RWBY community? No, in my personal opinion, I don't think you should. I think as a person, you should just watch the series. That's it. Watch the series, and if you want to look at the fan art, follow some people you enjoy, follow some people who make animations, cosplays, or things of that nature. You can do that. But once you see those people beginning to be in beef, be in arguments, do stuff like that, they're not listening to both sides, or it's just getting really aggressive, really toxic. People are sitting here forgetting that the other person behind that screen or somewhere else is another person at the end of the day. A same living, breathing human being just like them, and they're sitting there harassing people, encouraging people to kill themselves, making up lies or rumors with no proof and things of that nature. I think that's when you have to pull back and you stop having to treat these people that you follow or these people in the RWBY community as someone special, as someone that deserves to be praised or your best friend, and you should start looking at them as a person and start treating them and telling them that they have these flaws and that they shouldn't do this. Because in my personal opinion, a lot of the bad things that happen in the RWBY community get nurtured, get coddled, and it gets fed into, and a lot of people don't bring it up. A lot of people just sit here, try to run away from it. So in my personal opinion, should you interact with the RWBY community? I don't think you should. I think if you want to, keep it brief, keep it fast, and just watch and spectate and enjoy the things you're looking at. But the moment you make it into conversation and things of that nature, and things are turning toxic or turning bad and people are piling up on you, I think at that point you should just take a step back. The community is very small, the community is very niche, so they'll remember a face, and once you have a label that's stuck to you, the community and those people are going to keep it on you and place it on you and harass you and torment you. And those people aren't going to stop until either you gain your own voice and your own power, which is hard unless you're an influencer, or you simply just leave. And in my personal opinion, I don't want anybody going through harassment or things of that nature. So in my personal opinion, no, you shouldn't interact with the RWBY community. That doesn't mean indulge in their content. You can watch their content, you can enjoy people's content, you can watch videos, you can watch those things. I'm not saying you can't, but I am stating that when things turn toxic, you should probably pull away and just look at these people and realize that this isn't good. What these people are doing and promoting isn't good, and that they should be a better person, a better human being at the end of the day. But let's pull away and talk about the flaws of RWBY. Obviously, RWBY is an amazing show that has a lot of amazing things. However, RWBY has multiple, and I mean numerous flaws, and you can find videos, you can watch my videos that talk about it, you can watch other people's videos talking about it. There's so many people who have so many opinions on RWBY, and it's not the greatest show ever. You will see me praise it as I did in the beginning, but I also will be realistic and talk about the flaws of this series. And as much as I love the series and it's one of my favorite series, it has many, and I mean numerous flaws, and you know, I want to just quickly breeze past them, but like RWBY, in my personal opinion, has some of the best ideas for a series. It has some amazing, and I mean amazing foundation, but it is followed up by some terrible execution, and I think in my personal opinion it just sucks. RWBY would be amazing if those good ideas actually had good execution, but RWBY has a execution problem. It may make some really good ideas at some point. Sometimes they have terrible writing decisions. I think at worst what RWBY desperately needs to fix is their execution. But even then, if you do wish to address that writing, RWBY has a lot of abandoned plots that are important and integral to the story, two main characters, and they just abandoned them without even trying to work those things through. They didn't finish it and it was mediocre. They didn't do anything like that. They just abandoned it. They realized they couldn't write it well. They realized that, man, I'm probably not going to be able to do this well. And instead of sitting here and thinking to themselves, I should improve this, or I should see guidance and fix what I fucked up on, they instead abandoned it. And I think it shows a difference in mentality and mindset and things of that nature. But yeah, RWBY has a lot of abandoned plot. And if you want to go forward, we could talk about the loss of choreography. I mean, many people say this, and you can sit here and either debate it or not. I'm not really going to say it too much, but I will at least give some of my opinions, but I'm not going to be here to debate it a lot. RWBY, in my opinion, does have a loss of choreography. It just does. The action, the fighting, it's not fluid, it's not fast. Sometimes it's too slow, sometimes it's too clunky, sometimes it just doesn't feel good. RWBY felt like a old stick fight animation. RWBY felt fluid. RWBY felt like a fighting game where you could input these combos, where you can follow up everything, where everything was so fluid and everything connected and everything was woven and weaved. But now RWBY doesn't feel like that. It feels like it has some good moments here and there in terms of fighting. I'm not going to sit here and say some of the fights don't look visually good, that they don't have, you know, the cool visual impact. But what I fell in love for with RWBY was choreography with the addition of cool flashy stuff. It just feels like RWBY has the flashy stuff. I'm not going to sit here and say RWBY doesn't have good choreography post Volume 3. That would be a lie. RWBY has some good choreography post Volume 3. Let's talk about the Ironwood and Watts fight. Tyrion and Crow versus Clover. That fight looks beautiful. One of my favorite fights, Neapolitan versus Cinder. These are fights that look good and have amazing choreography. They have the flashy moments, but at the same time, they're so much more sparse. You can look at Volume 1 through 3, and 90% of the fights in that have great choreography with flashy moments. 90% of them, even the small ones. But the fights post Volume 3, these are fights that came in and were good. I'm not going to sit here and say they weren't, but they were sparse. They weren't there as often, and that's the issue. And yeah, in my personal opinion, I think I could keep going on and on and on, but RWBY has so many flaws that it's too many to count, and if you want to list them down in the comments below, be my guest. I'll read them. I may not respond, I will respond, I don't know. But if you wish to type them in the comments down below, I would greatly appreciate it. And yeah, I think at least another flaw of RWBY, which I mentioned it earlier, but I'll reinstate it here. RWBY's community can just turn people off from the show. Toxicness, how people act, just things of that that nature. I've had numerous friends come up to me and say, man, I see how the RWBY community treats you. Holy shit, I never want to watch the show because of how they act. And in my personal opinion, I understand it. I mean, if I seen the community trash my friend like this, constantly, repeatedly try to make him kill himself, try to sit here and attack his family and things of that nature, I definitely understand it, and I wouldn't want to associate with the community or the series at that point. And yeah, it gets to a point where the series could be good and or bad and or mediocre. It doesn't matter, however you feel, but a toxic and terrible community can just cut off people from the series entirely. And there's a lot of people out there that want to watch RWBY but just don't feel like watching it anymore because they had a run-in with the community, and the community has actually stopped viewership from the show because of how toxic they are, making the community much more divided and much more niche. Is RWBY worth watching? I mean, in my personal opinion, I'm going to say yes. Despite all the flaws I listed, despite all the bad things, I still love the series. And if you watch the series just for itself and just for your own ideas, while simultaneously looking at some fan art, some ideas, but not being too entangled with the community, but just watching it from a side, I think you can watch RWBY and it is worth watching. But I think you have to do it under those strict conditions. Because if you watch the series while also interacting with the community, I can only expect you to get a very, and I mean very, terrible experience. Even if you're a good creator or one of the good ones people consider you to be, I think even those people have a lot of bad run-ins with the RWBY community as well, when they're supposed to be the people that are untouchable. So in my personal opinion, I think you can watch RWBY, and I think it is worth watching. I just think it's worth watching under certain conditions. Anyways, I love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm sorry this video is so long and it kind of consists of me rambling, but I did try to stay on topic even if I did drag it out a bit unintentionally. But yeah, I love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next video, and yeah, peace.